Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving deep into a topic that honestly is a nightmare for any homeowner, water damage. But we're going to pull back the curtain and share the kind of stuff the pros know so you can feel a little more in control when things go wrong. Let's get right into it.
You know the scene, right? A tiny drip under the kitchen sink, maybe a little brownish stain appearing on the ceiling. It's so tempting to just, stick a bucket under it and tell yourself you'll get to it later. But that little leak, that's the starting pistol for some of the worst damage your home can face. So how bad can it really be?
Well, the answer really boils down to this number, 48. 48 hours. That is the critical window, the ticking clock that every single professional is racing against. Why? Because in just 2 days, a simple clean water problem can explode into a serious, and I mean hazardous, mold contamination. Time is absolutely not on your side here.
And that brings us to the first big secret from the pros. You see that puddle on your floor? That's just the tip of the iceberg. It's the opening act. The real disaster, the stuff that causes massive long-term headaches, is happening where you can't even see it. It's inside your walls, it's under your floors, it's soaking into the very bones of your house.
This is what we call the cascade effect. It's a total chain reaction. See, water doesn't just sit there, it wicks and spreads. So your beautiful hardwood floors, they start to cup and buckle. Your baseboards and trims swell up like a sponge. Paint and wallpaper start peeling right off the walls. And behind all that, your insulation is just getting soggy and useless, becoming this perfect breeding ground for mold. And that musty smell you might notice? Yeah, that's not just dampness. That's a giant red flag that serious stuff is growing, which can eventually lead to real structural damage. Where you live plays a huge part in this. Let's take a city like Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. It's kind of a perfect storm. You've got these older homes, a lot of them with old stone foundations, sitting on clay soil that just holds water. Then you add in those rough freeze-thaw cycles that can burst pipes, and you see how the environment itself can be the problem. It just goes to show, water damage isn't always some random accident. A lot of times, it's completely predictable.
All right, now this is where we get into the real insider knowledge. You might think, hey, water is water, right? Wrong. To a certified pro, there are different categories of water based on how contaminated it is. And trust me, knowing the difference is absolutely crucial for your health and safety.
So first up, you've got Category 1. This is clean water. This is the stuff that comes from a broken water pipe or maybe from rain. It starts out sanitary, no major threat. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. It does not stay clean for long. As soon as that water hits your drywall, your carpets, your insulation, it starts picking up bacteria and becoming contaminated.
Next, we level up the risk to Category 2, or gray water. Now, this water is already contaminated from the get-go. We're talking about an overflow from your washing machine or your dishwasher. It's full of soaps, food particles, all kinds of stuff. It's not raw sewage, but it can definitely make you sick if you're exposed to it. The danger has officially gone up.
And finally, we have the most severe. Category 3, black water. This is the really nasty stuff. It's grossly contaminated and can be filled with dangerous pathogens, viruses, you name it. Think sewage backing up into your basement or floodwater from a nearby river. This is hazardous material, period. It requires special equipment and very specific safety protocols to handle. So this brings us to a super important concept called category escalation. Remember that 48-hour clock we talked about? This is why it's so critical. A Category 1 clean water leak that's left to sit for more than 2 days, it can easily degrade into a much more dangerous Category 2 or even a Category 3 situation as mold and bacteria just go wild. Time is literally turning a simple cleanup into a hazardous waste problem.
So you're faced with this ticking clock, escalating contamination. How in the world do professionals restore order? Well, they don't wing it. They follow a very precise, science-based playbook designed to get the job done right. Let's break down how it works. Okay, so the top-tier pros are certified by an organization called the IICRC, and they follow this 3-step process. Step 1 is emergency extraction. This means getting all the standing water out and fast, usually with these incredibly powerful truck-mounted extractors. Step 2 is structural drying and monitoring. This is the really sciencey part, where they use huge dehumidifiers and high-speed air movers to pull every last bit of moisture out of the structure. And finally, step 3 is the restoration, which is actually rebuilding and repairing everything to get it back to how it was before the damage.
I really want to focus on step 2 for a second, because this quote right here says it all. Professional drying isn't just about making things feel dry. It is a meticulous, scientific process that takes anywhere from 3 to 7 days. They use special tools like moisture meters to get readings from inside your walls and floors. Rushing this step is literally the worst mistake you can make, because any moisture left behind is just an open invitation for mold. So like the quote says, they don't guess, they measure.
All right, so the water's out, the equipment is running. Now come the big questions that every single homeowner has. Who is going to pay for all this? And how do I find someone I can trust to do the job right?
Let's be honest, insurance can be a nightmare to figure out. But here's the basic rule of thumb. Most standard homeowners policies will cover damage that is sudden and accidental. A classic example is a pipe that suddenly bursts. What they almost never cover is gradual damage. You know, that slow leak behind the toilet you ignored for 6 months? And this is really important. Damage from natural floods, like a river overflowing or a sewer backing up into your house, that requires a totally separate policy or rider.
So when it's time to make that call, you've basically got two options: a local independent company or one of the big national franchises. The national guys have the brand name and standardized training, but that can come with higher prices, and the quality can really vary from one location to another. With a good local provider, you often get a faster response, more direct contact with the owner, and more competitive pricing because they don't have those franchise fees. There are pros and cons to both, so you just have to figure out what's best for your situation.
Okay, so we've covered the science, the pro playbook, and the logistics. But what about you? What can you do in those first few panicked minutes after you discover a foot of water in your basement? Taking the right steps immediately can literally save you thousands of dollars down the road.
This right here is your emergency action plan. Memorize this. First, if you can do it safely, find the source and shut the water off. Second, and this is critical, go to your breaker box and turn off the electricity to that area. Water and electricity do not mix. Third, get your valuables, photos, important documents, furniture, out of the water and to a dry spot. Fourth, pull out your phone and take tons of photos and videos for your insurance company. Document everything. And finally, step 5, call a certified professional. Immediately, don't wait. That 48-hour clock is already ticking.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought. We spend so much time and energy thinking about obvious threats to our home, like a fire or a big storm. But what if the biggest, most destructive threat is actually the one that starts silently, behind a wall or under a floor? If there's one thing to take away from what the pros know, it's this: the water you can't see is what does the real damage. And being aware of that and acting fast is your best defense.